Hey, howdy, howdy, howdy. Notes, notes, notes. Wow. I hate Caulfield. Not alone. You are not alone. What a low joint. It's the it and Warwick Farm are the two places where you can't win unless you're in the right spot. Big trap. Wow. Bowling ball malfunction. My bowling ball got stuck under the lane and it smelled like the whole joint was going to catch on fire. It took the dude an hour to find it. Had to go board by board and find it. It was like halfway down, stuck underneath. Yeah, Mooney Valley's much better. Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Much better. All right. I can't wait for Flemington Carnival to start. At least you feel like you're a chance. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's like, exactly, it doesn't matter how fast they go. You still can't run on at Caulfield unless you're in the right spot. It's just super weird. Anyway, we'll get there. Randwick was pretty good, I think. Pretty fair. Maybe hard fence wasn't great. Did look like it was tricky to lead early. Then it looked like it was the jockeys sort of seemed like it was hard to run on. So yeah, I think it was pretty fair. Horses came from all over the park. A lot of races run pretty slow. So that was probably more of the issue. Jenny by 8 in the Cox. We'll get there too, but my God, she can't, like, the setup she's got terrific, surely. She was out on her feet, 600 out, 500 out on Saturday, and like to have to travel back to Melbourne 2,000 metres and do it all over again. I know she'll probably be gifted the front, but she won't be gifted it. She'll still do something stupid. So, but that hyperbaric chamber seems to be doing some special things at the moment. Yeah, so I think Randwick's pretty fair. I'll get through the races because there's nothing too exciting early. I think Warmonger's gone for a spell, hasn't it? I think the Tab AI thing found the Cornell of the Everest. Not that it matters. Holy cow! Wouldn't you love the budget they've spent on that? I think it's a racing and sports project, but still, wouldn't you love the money?
Goes forward now.
Like what can it possibly do? How can it attract turnover? How can it attract anything? Exactly, millions and millions. the Racing New South Wales sponsored hyperbaric chamber. All right, so this race will probably feed something over the next few weeks. I'm not really sure. The race was okay. Slow tempo to the 800. They lifted a bit from the 8 to the 6. So the sprint's on fairly early here. Sort of Wycliffe runs a second fastest last 800 of the day. Waltham runs a third fastest. So there's a bit of merit in the back end of this race. But it's just got a smelly feeling to it, doesn't it? There's sort of all this form, sort of second tier metro form. Pretty tricky. Yeah, I think it's a leftover, that, Paul. I'm assuming they're selling it. What was my highest score today? No, today's practice day. Bowling practice day. I'm just still working at the two-handed bowling. Getting there. What have I got on the next couple of weeks? What's it called? The Pan Pacific Masters or something? What is it? The old people stuff? Anyway, that kicks off in the next couple of weeks. So, yeah, military mission rolls forward. Trusting You gets a really nice run. I was a bit grumpy, stayed to the fence, but, you know, nitpicking, it certainly had its chance. I thought he just should have come around the heels of the leader when they were controlled tempo here and should have sort of popped off here anytime someone came up to box him in. He shouldn't have allowed it. But clutching at straws, I think he still sort of had his chance. Trusting You. Good run on Athabaskan, 1-1. Wycliffe's back on the inside. That's the second time Wycliffe's sort of arranged up to put a race away. Last time was in the Newcastle Cup. I think it sort of just got run down by Etna Rossa. So maybe it did have a tiny excuse, Wycliffe, but maybe just doesn't have the conviction to put a race away. And Waltham, I actually think this was a better run than last start where it was heavily pace assisted. It's knocking on the door, Waltham. Its run was pretty good and probably has more upside than the others going forward this prep, you would think. But not much happens in the run. Stockman outside leader. Athabaskan rolls up 3 wide. Waltham tries to come into it, maintain that run, and Wycliffe saving ground. Trusting you, as I sort of said, I thought staying to the inside, especially early in the day, wasn't ideal. But, yeah, clutching its straws, the effort was just okay. Wycliffe gets a little sort of held up and checked, has to come around heels rather than getting clear air, and I'm not convinced it cost it the race, to be honest, so I think it was fair enough that it was dismissed. Certainly there early enough to get past if he wanted to, and doesn't to me look like he's ever going to go past the leader, to be honest. Allegron really won pace, quite disappointing. Maybe they just pumped the work into it, trying to get it ready for 2 miles. I'm assuming it gets a run in the Melbourne Cup. I think it's a 1,000,000 to 1 chance the way it's gone here. Etna Rossa got okayed up the inside and still blazed. Like, that's sort of showing the class of the race. They're take-turnsy sort of horses. I don't think we learn a lot there. Maybe Waltham can find a race in the next couple of weeks that it can run well in now that it's well set up off a faster tempo. I've got no idea what Revolver is. Currently in Germany, Johnny, meeting with wagering partners of the firm. That's nice. No one bets anymore, King, on bowling. Used to be, everyone used to love betting. You bet like whatever per pin, dollars per pin or series or whatever. Like, and now no one wants to bet on it. Everything's gone. Everyone used to bet on golf. No one wants to bet on it anymore. Bowling the same. Everyone's a cow. No one carries any money. Like, what are you going to swipe? It's just a joke. It's just a nightmare. The world's gone. Oh, boys, military mission Stockman probably gone. Yeah, I thought Stockman might be a chance of being revived in this race, in particular if the rain came. But once it sort of wasn't a heavy track, that sort of hurt him, I think. But yeah, I don't think they can learn a lot here. But it like this form could travel to a country cup somewhere. Could sneak to a country cup, especially Waltham. Yeah, that's about it. G'day, TD. So that was race 1. Don't think there's much there. Race 2, a little bit similar. Takey-turny sort of horses. Ducash finally found the right race, got the right ride, and was probably the entitled to win. Sattler didn't sat wide and got home. Craig Williams first to cut up the inside and be in the finish, sort of stayed far enough off the fence. The rest were pretty plain. I don't think there was anything in the steward's report here, apart from Tyler weighing in more than a kilo over on High Dandy. Another one of those great rules where if it affects the outcome, you get a bigger fine. But if you just finish back in the pack, even though you were giving the horse a disadvantage, you only get a $300 fine. Stewards in there doing their best work. The race, pretty even tempo here. They sort of roll along, slow down a little bit, and then pick it back up. The race overall, again, is pretty solid. And these sort of horses take turns horses. The benchmark horses that aren't going too far, I don't think. Ducass he's just a solid performer that once he gets fit and finds the right race, he's going to run okay, but he does need a few things to go his way. So he just pops out early here and sort of sets 3 wide. Don't really know why he chose to do that, but it worked out okay. Vivier's back to the inside. Chorlton Lane, who to me is a bit of a suck. The weird ride was obviously old Zach Waddick got a little bit carried away with the change of tactics on Berkshire Shadow, deciding to take on the 2 mad leaders in High Dandy and Too Much Caviar. I think another example, I know I'm picking on him at the moment, but I think he's riding really steadily, is Tyler. Again, got his horse just a little bit keen. Maybe he thought that he was going to hold the front, but just for whatever reason, he's just a little bit aggressive on his horses early, and you can see here he sort of, instead of just letting his horse relax, it just over races, gets keen and never settles the whole race. So he's doing that a lot lately. I see that he's sort of driving his horses into weird positions halfway round, and they're getting keen and expending energy they don't need to. So I think he's just a little bit out of form at the moment. Tyler, there's a few doing it. Tommy Sherry doing it similar. Just sort of driving their horses mad throughout the run and really not giving them their best chance to relax. You can see sort of the opposite with Vivier, dragged out early, loud found the fence and saving all its energy up. Cuts up the inside, Ducasse down the outside. Nothing really as many excuses here. Too much caviar, cops a little check there and has to come around, but quite one pace. Obviously a better horse when it can get out in front and dominate. Thunder Lips just okay. The rest of them, you know, even I think Berkshire Shadow was pretty average, even though it led at an even tempo. It was, and did use a bit of petrol early. It was sort of fought off. Vivier's were like deep into its prep. So's Ducasse now. It's hard to find, you know, serious excuses. Obviously, both those horses went well enough to run well in similar grade, but I don't think there's anything coming out of this race with significant upside going into a race we can find in the next few weeks that's, you know, not exposed. Probably too much caviar can improve as much as any of them. Was a little gap between runs and got dictated to here. You know, jockey change in a race where it can find the front and dictate. Maybe it can bounce back. I think Chiltern Lane's a bit of a nightmare that needs everything to go its way, and sort of High Dandy's just about found his mark, I think. So as Thunder Lips, they need a lot to go their way. Yeah, maybe. Barnsey, thank you, buddy. Racing in general is a bit of a nightmare. Like quality-wise, it's definitely dropped, but it is what it is. So not much there, I don't think. This race, the Reginald Allen race 3, really disappointing race, but it did look like a glorified Class 1 on paper. So to me, it was a $250,000 Group 3 Class 1. Often ends up that sort of a race, just a quality 3-year-old fillies race. Yeah, like an example of a race that probably definitely shouldn't be a group race. It may be listed at best. It definitely shouldn't be a Group 3 or worth $250,000, I don't think. Like it was... the horse I liked in the race, Titanium Miss, was coming out of a sort of benchmark Newcastle race. Most of these horses are coming out of either maidens or low benchmark Class 1s, things like that. So, yeah, just one for the patent committee, the old Reginald Allen. But this was a really disappointing race. I thought they went slow. They slowed down even more, and they didn't even sort of pick it up. I'll have a look at the head-on with Good Sort. That was a cracker. One of Fearless Zach's interesting odds. He's dead set going to hurt someone soon. It's not an if, it's a when. He's a bit too fearless for his own good, Zach. I didn't think it was a good run. I thought Titanium Miss was entitled to roll forward here and control the slow tempo with Dominator. Obviously, Gelasius kicks up a little bit, but I thought Blake erred. It was very much a ride of okay, I'm a 30-1 chance early in a big day. I don't really care. It's definitely not the same intent that he showed on Straka later in the day. And I know he gets hinged wrong, but at least he went out with a plan there. Whereas here he just looked like, oh, well, I'll just bounce out and whatever happens, happens. And that was kind of the ride it got. It was weird. Shin at the start of the day was a bit, it sounded like he was worried to go forward and it was hard to lead and he wanted to sort of take a sit or go back. And then as the day progressed and you heard him interviewed about Ostraka, he's like, oh, it's hard to run on, so you're better off being forward. And I think he was just sort of testing it all out here a bit on Titanium Miss, but that's her. She sits 3 wide. She went okay, but they went so slow. It wasn't a huge disadvantage. It was sort of more the reverse park, more pup, and I think she's a horse that would have been better suited leading and rolling along, not on this slow tempo. I think overall the leaders went too slow here. But there was still no strong merit in the race. It's just a bunchy sort of yuck finish. Look at them here, like they're all pulling their heads off. They're all not comfortable in the run. They're just going too slow up front. Hippo's I'm a big Hippo fan in general, but I think he's riding really below his best as well. He just seems to have no confidence. He's either going too slow, too fast. Major Bill, you can make up your own mind on that ride. But again, just out of character, he just seems like he's a bit angry or unsettled at the moment. He just doesn't seem to be, taking each ride on its merits. He's just doing some weird things. Even Super Helpful in the last, I thought he was pretty poor on it. So I think Hippo's struggling a little bit for form too. It can turn around. Look at Josh Parr. He was riding pretty steady up until a couple of weeks ago, and rides a winner at Hawkesbury, and then El Costello gets him rolling, then all of a sudden overpass, and he's riding really well. So it can turn around quick, but it does look like their confidence are down. So the horse that we'll have a look at in a minute's Good Sort probably should have won. Island Deck was okay, 1,000 to 1,400 metres second up. Thought it went okay, but again, this race, I'm not looking to be too positive on anything coming out of this race. I'd rather be hesitant.
Wide out Canara, up the inside Aliana, it's Dominator, Good Sort bursting through, but Aliana up the fence.
It's the old bunching of margins, only a few lengths between them. That's because of the slow tempo, you're usually going to get that, especially when they don't really rip home off the back of it. So not surprising there's only sort of 3 lengths covering them all. Where's the head on? I did have it ready. Race 3, Stewards report. Where's that going? Opening somewhere. There it is. Where's that? Must be behind this. How do I make it bigger? Not that big. That's too big. That'll do for this purpose. So it's a weird one here with Zach.
Stoked up on the outside, Delicious and Dominator.
He's here in the middle, and the gap opens to his outside here, and he doesn't drive the horse through that gap. He tries to drive it through this gap, and then the gap does close on him to his not his fault. But I don't know why. I don't know why he doesn't aim for this gap. Why does he not come around the heels of Dominator? Why does he go back to the inside and try and drive it through the gap that wasn't there, that opens and then gets poleaxed? But he's dead set fearless. Obviously, it plays into his favour sometimes, but it's pretty scary at the same time. He just sort of points and shoots, and sometimes, or one time, it's going to be very dangerous. But yeah, it was certainly looks the best of good things beaten there. Good Sort in a bad race. So I'd be very wary backing anything, especially going up in grade out of that race. Cox Plate disappointing, Greece. Still can't believe got my hail the other week. Yeah, hey, Mikhail was good to us. Charles Cox Plate. Yeah, it seems like they're just like I didn't realise the Golden Eagle's worth 10 million now. And that's obviously aimed at weakening the Cox Plate as well. But it's just so weird. Yeah, he should have pushed out. Hippo running Jenny wide. Go. Yeah, I think I think he's not strong. He's dead set. He's like. Fearless is probably the nicest way to say it. He seems like he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder too. I did hear that he said something like, I'm on the best horse and I'm in the best rider in the race when he was talking about Steffi Magnetica, and he's obviously said that tongue-in-cheek to a certain degree, and I don't mind that. Like to become the best, you need to believe you are. There's no doubt, but you've also got to have a bit of grasp on reality too, right? Anyhow, yeah, that's probably enough about that race. I'd just be very, very wary about all that form. Obviously, most of these runners are eligible for a lot easier than Group 3 grade. So if they drop back in grade, that's okay. It's just sort of progressing or seeing a good run out of this race and thinking it's going to translate into a good run in a better race or something similar, sort of Group 3 level. Be very, very careful. Very, very careful. But yeah, so this 10 million. Like, why is it 10 million though? I don't understand. What do you get for 10 that you don't get for 2 or 3 or I don't understand. And plus paying the way of all these internationals to come and stuff like that. It just seems like huge overkill. Ank Stakes, another very slowly run race here. They don't really pick it up, so 6.2 below to the 800, 5.2 below to the 6, so they don't really pick it up between the 8 and the 6, and then they do come home quick, and the winner's run is just ridiculous, really, considering it was second up at a mile, having to sustain a run from back in the field. Did get a nice split through, but sort of come home, clearly the best last 800. What's it done? Here we go, from the 800. So it's run the fastest 8, 4, 6, 2, and then second fastest last 200 of the day. Sort of just weakened on its run late, but yeah, run the fastest 8 to the 2, 8 to, every section except for the last 200 of the meeting. Lekvart. So yeah, its effort's incredible. She's a pretty special horse when she's in the mood, and I think she's going to run well in the Empire Rose down in Melbourne. It's becoming a little bit stronger than I hoped it would. The Empire Rose, I thought it would fall away, but your horses like Komochi and I think Amelia's Jewel's going there. There's a couple of others. Hopefully Fangirl doesn't show up, but yeah, it's a bit stronger than I hoped it would be, and she was big odds, after this race for that race. But I think she'll peak off the back of this and like another with that mile run under her belt. I think she'll peak next start. I think Flemington's ideal. She can obviously rattle off ridiculous sectionals, and I think off a strong tempo she'll be even better. So yeah, I think she'll give it a shake, even though it's obviously a lot better race than this. This was a very bad race. Hinged is probably the key talking point. No speed in the race. Like, Unique Ambition is not a fast horse, and Hinged, didn't jump poorly. It's jumped on terms with him at least, and he's just, gone out with a plan to take it back. None of these horses want to push, so the option was there to at least get outside leader, and this is what I was thinking by Blake Shin, that at this stage of the day, I think he thought going back was the best play. Why would you try and out-sprint Lekvart? You'd be trying to put as big a gap between you and this horse as possible, I would have thought, and going forward was the key to doing that. Orchestral as well, yeah, is in the Empire Rose, very dangerous. I think Jolie Star's going to the Golden Eagle. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Golden Eagle. Tom Kitten's going to the Golden Eagle. I did laugh today. Like, the problem with these overseas horses is that they bring overseas jockeys, and that makes it even scarier. Andre's question, like Lekvart to the eye was huge, and times back it up. They back up her performance. They don't back up the race in general. But while I'm forgiving of her, is because compared to the last race, this race as well is not a strong race on paper, the race. But I think her performance sort of supersedes that, and she'll find conditions to suit her better next time out. I think she'll be physically better next time out. So there's a lot of reasons why I sort of want to be with her next time out, and you'll probably get a price too, especially going up in grade. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about her coming out of a poor race here, because I think, look at her, she's 12 off the lead. I think she comes home 13 lengths above average for the last 800 metres. Her racing style dictates that she has to do things like that, but even if she draws a gate in the Empire Rose, she can settle midfield at worst, or just in front of it. I don't think she's a horse that's completely devoid of tactical speed. It's just barrier-wise. She needs to be able to hold a spot, not have to make it happen. And especially here, Josh had to go back second up. She does get a half a split through, a nice run through here. Cuts under one and comes around, but yeah, there's not too many mares around with a finish like her, I don't think. And now that they've worked out that she doesn't really run much past a mile, I think he's really worked out how to train her just to be spot on for the mile. Like right here, I think you look like watch when he eases past the line. See, she stops quickly. So this is a key thing for me, looking for horses that are going to improve next time. So when they're set up like this, like second up a mile, having to make a long run, she's obviously had to expend a lot of energy. And like a sign of a good horse too is yet like she puts them away and runs through the line well. But as soon as Josh eases up on her, see the second horse sort of comes back past her quickly, and the others are quickly catching her as well. So I think she was out of biscuits late, and she can improve again off that. But yeah, all good signs that she's a horse at the close to the top of her game. She was really good first up. It was strange that she got out to $12 here, to be honest, even though she had a bit against her. Her and Hinge was so well placed at the weights and class-wise. I didn't think there was much else in the race. Quickster and these horses were not well set up either. Hang on. Just got to find the right... These things go hiding. So, yeah, who's up there? Quickster runs second. Its setup wasn't great for this. I think it was only second up as well, so it can improve off this. Hinge is just a nightmare. Good luck trying to catch it. Pop and Champagne is brings the form back a little bit, but did have the right run, and just said there wasn't huge merit in the race overall. So horses like Unique Ambition, Tulsi, I don't think a lot of great form's going to come out of this race. I just think the winner was really good. Chica Bonita was okay. I think most of the horses that will probably come out of this and run well at their next couple of starts will be in similar grade or a little bit softer. And as I said, sort of finding Lechvark going up in grade is because of all those reasons. Fangirl usually gets those sorts of conditions because she usually races in weight for age races that Pride of Jenny's not in. So as long as Pride of Jenny is not in there, Henline back by the sounds of it back to Melbourne. That's interesting. They must have had an issue. I was going to ask, but I haven't found out there. So I'll ask what the story is there. I think El Costello is going to run really well. She is a little bit hard to catch like that, but because of her racing style, you usually get a price. Osbred Flirt's definitely got issues. Definitely got issues. It'll win at 50-1 to drive you mad because it's got an engine, but it's definitely got something going on with it. I think he got in trouble for flattening someone there, didn't he? He got in trouble I think he got suspended, Tyler, for flattening someone. Hey, Laney. The Golden Cat. What's the Golden Cat worth? 20 mil for horses that can't win a race. So they just give you, for Waller horses that haven't won a race for longer than a year. So they give you, or 2 years, they'll just put on a $20 million race. It'll probably win the Empire Rose just to annoy you or annoy me. Kosciuszko, this was probably one of the best rack runners. Did get a little bit soft late, but during the week and early in the day, this was absolutely smashed. Strange-ish ride from J-Mac to sort of stay off the fence, but obviously he was concerned about the inside being a little bit tricky, and Craig Williams, great job to bounce the horse, get it close, and then get around the heels of J-Mac. Super strong, dominant win. There's some good runs in the race. I thought Ascarda went really well. Tanglewood went well. Boom Talk. All the horses that looked like they were really well set up for the race pretty much ran well. Bandy's Boy bled. And, there were a couple of disappointing horses. But overall, I think this was a really good Kosciuszko. The winner's been a good horse for a long time, deserved to win. Front Page has been a good horse for a long time. He did something weird late. I actually thought he bled the way that he went the last 100 metres or so here. But the race in general is a really solid addition. They go an even tempo to the 8, quicken it up from the 8 to the 6, and then maintain that even quicken up a little bit more the last 600. So overall, it's quite a strong race for the grade. And that's what it looked like visually. The winner was just too good, dominant, and looked impressive in doing so. This is Ascarda, who had a really poor setup for this race, I thought. Maybe they were surprised they got a start, I'm not sure, but it sort of outperformed, I thought, its ability level. Maybe it's a little bit better than the horse than what I thought. Tanglewood just couldn't hold an early spot close enough to finish closer, but I thought he ran well. Yeah, sort of Craig Williams using the horse up. You can see J-Mac stays off the fence. Elects to stay off the fence. And Craig Williams is probably a little bit lucky that the opportunity came to roll off and get to the outside of front page position without losing any momentum. Asgard is sort of the one horse that gets dragged back to last. And Tanglewood sort of held up there and forced to come through, runs past a couple of nice horses. So, yeah, I don't know where these horses end up.
250 to go, front page, trying to fend off far too easy, knuckling out a great fit.
So yeah, this is front page, obviously puts them away nicely. Tanglewood getting to the outside of Boom Talk, and Asgard is in the outside here. Gallant Sun, I ran quite well. I assumed it would be a little bit one-paced and struggle to pick them up, but super honest horse.
Keeps coming, far too easy, too strong in the Kosciuszko.
Oh yeah, I think that was a good race. Again, this is a hard race to really analyse from, you know, where these horses are going to end up in the next few weeks. If they go back to real races against real horses in higher grade, they're probably going to get found out. But they're all racing very well if they find their right grade, if you know, if that makes sense. Like 1400 metres, Gallant Sun, Tanglewood around the same sort of thing. Boom Talk's ready to win, you know, probably up in Brisbane or something like that. Asgard is probably ready to win a benchmark sort of race somewhere. I don't know what its benchmark is. I think Compelling Truth had a really long prep and was just a little bit flat. I don't think it showed the speed that it normally can. Front page sort of was just too fast. Elson's Boy couldn't get up there. Creon, I don't know why it was in the race. The overhead. Yeah, well, so you're saying he stopped when he hit the wheel? When he's changed it to the left, he just stops. So that's what I thought he bled and he shortened his action right up. So that's interesting. Like right hand, he's responding. I see what you're saying. And then when he pulls it through to the left, he hits it once and he stops. Changes leg and stops. But he may have just got tired as well. Like, I don't know. Maybe he's thrown him off his rhythm. He definitely got tired. Yeah, to be honest, it's probably my... Especially when you get a winner like Dave McCann. This guy's funny, like a short little story. I can't remember what horse. We had a horse with, I think it was Cody or Jared. No, it was Jared. Maybe it was Avocado. Was it Avocado Sunset? And we needed somewhere to stay at Mawulambar. And this fella was the fella who said, yeah, no worries. And we lobbed there. And he had a really good setup. And we started chatting to him. And he's a full-time pest controller. And he dead set had about 5 horses in work. And he had like a dozen boxes or something. That's why he was super nice and let us sort of stay there and do whatever we wanted. But yeah, he'd had one decent horse, I think, that had won a midweek or something in Brisbane, and he didn't really have a lot at the time. And since then, he's absolutely flown. Like, he's had this horse, he's had quite a few horses that go half decent and go through their grades, but this horse obviously been a little bit special. But yeah, it's great to see someone like Dave win this race. Even sort of Tanglewood, I think they got some good offers from Hong Kong, knocked it back. Front Page has obviously been country trained his whole career and done a great job. So I think most of these horses are raced in the spirit of the race, which is all you want to see. Nearly all these horses are, actually. The country championships usually get a little bit funky, but yeah, Kosciuszko is definitely a great concept, and I'm more than happy for them to throw $2 million at it. Like, that's great. At least some of it goes back to the country. He rode a winner at Warwick for I didn't know he'd been training. He had a star, I can't remember, it was like Mr. something or Magic something he was telling us about. It was his good horse. It wasn't Mr. Bureaucrat, but it sounded like that. It sounded like, I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, champion fella. Yeah, 8-year-old gelding, 6-year-old Far Too Easy, but fairly lightly raced. Yeah, a few of these will line up again, no doubt. 9-year-old gelding at Witten, like Daniel Bowen's done a huge job with it. I think like form-wise, the race itself was super strong. you've got to be careful again where these horses end up. The first 5 or 6 across the line, definitely ready to win in the right race next time out. It's just about being well placed. Even a horse like Elson Boy could make an absolute fool of this form, just going back up to 1,400 metres and dictating and rolling. It could definitely improve significantly. See, Nip? That doesn't sound like Mr. Bureaucrat. When was the last time I went to the races? I don't know. Oh, not long ago, but yeah, no, I went to Tare racing, whatever, but not like actually went to the races, but betting wise, and went there for reasons. It's been a long time. I've been like a couple of social sort of things, go to see people and whatever, but never. I don't go to the races to bet properly. Couldn't tell you the last time. Used to go a lot more when I was managing jockeys. Lightning Stakes. So yeah, this was a really good performance, a great ride, but a really strong performance. He's run the fastest 800 to the 600 of the day from a front running position off a solid tempo. So yeah, a great training performance to have this horse ready to go. He sort of set a really solid even tempo to the 800, then really let go from the 8 to the 6 and put a margin on those behind him and then sort of held that to the line. So a really strong performance. Yeah, I think he would have been ideally suited to the Everest. The argument's irrelevant. Who cares, trying to compare it to the race. But I just think he would have been good for the race. He would have been the horse that was sort of designated happy to lead and roll and put a little bit more tempo into the race, made it more of a real race than what we saw in the Everest. And I think he would have given it a shake. I remember backing him last year and he was really disappointing and couldn't really work out whether I got the horse wrong or whether he just had a really off day. And I think he just had a really off day there. He's gone over and won that race in Perth, and he's won like 8 million now overpass, which is an incredible effort. But he's like genuinely, he's definitely in the best 12 sprinters we've got in the country. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Like how he was not chosen over Private Eye or I Am Me or something like that is pretty staggering. When was the last time I rode a thoroughbred? Man, it'd be 10 years. It'd be more than 10 years. I don't know. It's a good question. I'll think about that one.
Lady Laguna to the wide draw, and the light is on. Stand by for
10 years and 20 kilos. Yeah, so yeah, he's a great gate horse. Coal Crusher runs really well. It's interesting trying to line this form up. Obviously, Coal Crusher was a little bit flattered last start, slow tempo, but he's run really well here without his blinkers. Southport Tycoon, every chance. King of Sparta, he's tried to ride him close. It's run well. Marzu, very honest as usual. Lady Laguna, a lot better than the last start. I couldn't find too many excuses for too many of these behind. I don't think there was anything else. Was there weird happen? I'll think about it, obviously. Jeez. I got some death threats over tweeting about think about it, but that's all right. I thought Jason Collett was incredible the way that he literally put his own self in jeopardy, sort of running around a horse that was obviously out of control and panicking heavily, and ran around in front of it incredibly and got back and sort of held its head and calmed it down nearly instantly, and probably, I'm not saying he saved its life, but certainly made it a much more palatable situation for the horse, and it's great that the horse is going to end up retiring and with no long-term issues, hopefully, because like everybody, when you sort of got to see this part of it, you were worried that the horse would never be seen again, and that the rider would hopefully not be injured. But incredible, they've both come out basically unscathed from the race. Yeah, like JP wins the race for mine. Sort of here, sort of creating this separation and then maintaining that gallop is to me where he won the race. all of these horses around him, I believe, sort of had their chance certainly to run them down. You sort of Airman, Cold Crusher, Southport Tycoon, Marzu, King of Sparta, Lady Laguna, Climbing, whatever it's called down the outside, Star. They've all certainly had their chance. He was just really dominant. And I think a lot of people will underestimate the form because sort of Cold Crusher's running second. But I think once Cold Crusher gets up to a certain gallop, like a certain stage of fitness, he's a very, very good horse. And I think that sort of race, like a flowing race, the way it was run absolutely suits him ideally. So I don't think there's any fluke in his performance. And I think the winner was dominant. But if people might overlook the form, I know that a few people are still talking about him for a race like the Champion Sprint, which is the race I believe he's going to in Melbourne. I think he'll give that a heck of a shake too. So, yeah, I think Overpass a good horse. E6 Canton horse I rode was bolted on a jumper fence. First horse I ever rode, my old man was a big, big dude, and they put me on this little grey thing. I don't know how old I was. I don't know, like under 10, well under 10. They put me on this grey thing at this like trail riding place, and I'd ridden a few horses, but I didn't have much of an idea. And my old man sat on this thing called Joker, and it splayed, like it went down on all fours. He like 130, 140 kilo, big dude, maybe not 140, he was about 130 kilo. And the horse went down, and they were all shitting himself that he'd killed this horse. The horse didn't die, but they forgot about me, and my little grey horse pissed off up through the bushes. Like that, it took them a couple of hours to find me. It was yeah, that was one of my better efforts, but that was the first horse I ever rode. I think I know when I'm saying like there's a first proper horse I've ridden. I've been like led around or in a thing. This is on a trail ride. Anyway, those were the days. Yeah, going forward, I think most of the horses they're pretty exposed. Southport Tycoon probably needs to go up in trip. Cold Crusher probably 13, 1400. They've still got the blinkers up their sleeve with him too. He can pick up a race. King of Sparta, they've really worked him out. Usually spaced runs. Maybe he goes down the straight, something like that next. Mars is going to be hard to place. So's Lady Laguna, so's Airman. Caballos was better, but still needs to find more. Climbing Stars, one of those horses that needs everything to go right, I think, to win races. Arkansas Kid, I don't think has much upside this prep. Most of the ones back in the field, I don't think really have much upside. So I think, Overpass, Cold Crusher, Southport Tycoon was okay. King of Sparta, okay. They're probably the top four are probably the most obvious that can find races out of this and run well, because it was a very solid race. Very, very good race. Fairway Choice is a good horse yet. Flying Mickey, both talent enough. Yarra Glen on Saturday. Sorry, just an Andre say like a major meeting. Yeah, I not for a long time. That was that race. All right, the Mighty Everest. Ugly race this. We'll show the overhead's pretty fun. I don't know if they show the overhead. It actually went a bit quicker than I thought here. Pretty even all the way. Pretty even all the way. The race itself's not bad. Not bad. But, yeah, I was surprised, number one, that James McDonald wasn't more positive out of the gates. He does, like, he's not negative, but he gives up pretty quick, and then he gives that spot to Zach, which I think basically put him out of the race and, potentially cost him the race. Kiki Kick does come from behind him, but gets a different run in transit. Sunshine in Paris was in a world of pain once it was back there. Has sort of, I wish I win, annoying it for most of the way. I wish I win pulls up with 1 out of 5. Poor old Jay Ford did his absolute best on Private Eye. He just raced like he's looking for a mile. Lady of Camelot lobbed the best run in the race, arguably. At least the wrinkle was positive on Bella Nipotina. you know, in hindsight, her effort was probably still the best run, arguably, in the race. He's definitely used her up, then tried to reverse Parker 3 wide on what was an even tempo, then had the courage to sort of hold off Giga Kick, who has the soft run. I think he just knocked up. I think he just knocked up with 50 to go, and that cost him the race, to be honest. Sort of third up off a long break. He just not battle-hardened, whereas Bella Nipotina's certainly battle-hardened. So he's definitely made her work a lot here. Like, she deserved to win this race. I thought that Jolie Star was a bit of a good thing beaten, but in hindsight, I think the right horse won the race, and she would have been unlucky to lose it no matter how he rode it. Even if he got a 3-wide trail up or whatever, I think she would have been going close to winning, and probably would have been a good thing beat if she didn't get the job done. I don't know why Karen didn't press on. I don't think Abdullah really wanted to hold the front here. I thought he erred not going to the front on Growing Empire. That was probably the other ride that I thought was not ideal. Steffi Magnetica gets a bit keen in behind, but she raced a little bit one pace. She looked a bit unlucky the first time you watch it, but I think she was off the bit for most of the way up the straight and really wants maybe 7 furlongs. Ideally, there were a few that looked like they want further. You see, Private Eye looks like it's looking for a mile. Jolie Star will be interesting heading into the Golden Eagle 1500 next time out. I think what's she gone 1200? Has she gone 12, 12, 12, 15? That's probably okay, but it's still not ideal. Just got a feel of a bit of a poxy race, isn't it? Like, it doesn't feel like they really, I don't know. It just feels like they all raced a bit cramped and it was a bit messy and they didn't get their chance to really flow and run to their best. I don't know. I just didn't have a good feeling about it the whole race. But yeah, good training performance with Giga Kick to get it back. I think, I think it's going to win here. And then the last 50 metres, he just knocks up. And she's just too tough. Jolie Star obviously getting to the line, but look at them across the line like the flying V. I hate this. But it did look like this before the race, right? Like, it looked like whoever got the right run was going to win. As it turned out, the winner didn't get the right run, but it got the most positive run and beat horses who I think the 3-year-olds are pretty limited and they're not beaten far. And the sort of more talented horses had to make up the ground. And yeah, it kind of looked like this before the race, and it just was a matter of how it fell, who was going to win. But I do think the right horse won the race, Jolie Star. A little bit unlucky. I thought Sunshine in Paris was a little bit disappointing, if anything, but didn't quite have a lot go its way and only got beat a length and a bit. So, and they'll sort of separate now, won't they? I don't know where the 3-year-olds will go. You think Growing Empire, will they go to a Coolmore, these couple? I think it's a chance that Lady of Camelot will go to the Coolmore. Golden Eagle, will it go to the Golden Eagle? Steffi Magnetica? Probably will. There'll be a race for Private Eye. I don't know whether they'll ease up on Sunshine in Paris now. They usually like to give her light preparations, or they'll find maybe she'll go to that sprint race that Overpass is going to. Giga Kick will go to that race, I think. Who knows? Like, she deserves a break. Like, Jesus Christ, Yulong will just buy her for 20 mil or something and they'll be over the moon. I don't think anyone would have really noticed it except for the horse that were just around it. Sort of going backwards here, I just missed a few things. Paul saying, how do jockeys react when they hear and see, think about it, go amiss like that? From, what I've been told, obviously, sometimes if you're behind or whatever, you're sort of just reactionary to it and it's hard to get back into the race. But I don't think that they would have even known, because I think, when they break a bone or something like that, or there's a definite fall where you can hear it, or something like that happens, you sort of know about it. But otherwise, I don't really, they're not looking in their revision mirror or so, and it's quite loud and whatever. From what I've been told, it's just sort of play on. You don't even really know it happened. Does racing have an issue producing young male jockeys? I think the weights are a big issue. I think that they I've always been a bit of an advocate that they're very lazy in their approach in recruiting jockeys. I think, they should be chasing skateboarders, these guys who like a bit of adrenaline rush. Usually they're on the lighter side, surfers, anything like that, gymnastics, anyone that's sort of great balance, core strength, those sorts of death-defying bloody thrill seekers is where I'd be chasing potential jockeys. I think, Jag up here I think he was a skateboarder or surfer. There's a big gap there, I think. And even, they're just not really doing their best to find athletes that are already sort of hungry athletes, which I'll be trying to find people like with the mentality of your sort of James McDonald's and these guys and turning them into jockeys. I think is probably easier than just finding small people and hoping they get through, which is, again, as you said, I'm nothing against female riders. They're just naturally smaller, so there's more of them coming through the systems, and I don't really feel like they're being developed to their full potential either. They're just sort of used up, and then, they just end up wherever they end up. But there doesn't seem to me like, they're really educating riders coming through. Even the guys I've worked with over the years, the reason why we got on so well was because their passion for racing. And once we sort of get talking, you share a passion for racing, you start talking about, like, you learn things off them, they learn things off you, and it's natural back and forth, you presenting arguments to them sort of coming back with, oh, this is why I didn't do that. And it helps me. And then you're so, well, okay, this is what I was looking at, and sort of go back and forth. I don't think they get that a lot. And, I think that's the development of riders in general is pretty poor, I think. And basically, because they make so much money now, there's no real, a lot of them aren't hungry to perform to their best because they make so much money regardless that they can easily sort of follow the fields around, win when it's their turn. They don't really care about improving or getting better at it. They can just they can beat the game through quantity rather than quality. They can make $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a week by just riding a lot of horses and working hard and not having to improve. And that's not what we really want as punters. And we don't really want that mentality being bred into riders either, I don't think. But it's probably a bigger issue. But I think they're not handling it well at all. I remember I put together some crazy-ass document once and said that, I'd love to help them just educate, come and talk about different, different tempos, different, how to approach races. The things that I've picked up off, dealing with other riders and helping them approach races. You're not always on the best horse, but getting the best out of your horse in any particular race, and learning how to ride the tracks correctly or to the best of it, and finding the best way to ride your horse in that race, what it's set up to do on that day, right horse to follow into the race, things like little things, just so that you're ready to go for each race. And I basically got accused of trying to corrupt jockeys. Whatever. Zara's good. Stephen Arnold was good. Zara's obviously limited because of his weight as well, but he's very good. He's got a lot of natural willer about him, Zara, that his best is incredible, but he can go missing a bit. The money sort of overcomes that a bit, Rubicon. You can go, not schools, but you can go to rodeos and things like that. And obviously a lot of the jockeys, I think Braith Knox, sort of ex-rodeo, there's a lot of jockeys that have cut their teeth in, those sorts of circles. But I don't think it'd be like seriously frowned upon if, for argument's sake, Racing New South Wales had a recruiter and, they were targeting the right, obviously physically they have to be the right sort of target as well. Because of the money these guys earn, how much money can you earn skateboarding? Obviously you get a Red Bull contract or something like that, or, surfing. It's got to be difficult. But if you've got, I'm not saying they'd all adapt to racing either, but adrenaline junkies with great balance and a bit of strength, they can learn to ride. Mount Isa Rodeo. They were at the races there today, yeah. That's sad. That's sad. And like a rodeo in America is huge prize money. Here, not so much. What would a standard Melbourne Metro Sydney jock make a year? Oh, I'd say, well, I don't think they ride as much because they make so much now, but, you know, like Grant Buckley, for argument's sake, he rides 1,000 horses a year. Say, for argument's sake, he gets 300 a ride. That's 300,000 off the bat if every one of his horses runs last. Then you've got trials and whatever on top of that, and then you get 5% of prize money. So you would have to think that, you know, he's an extreme case because he rides a lot, but he could make, you know, $500,000 without having a successful year on paper. So we would look at him for argument's sake and say that Grant Buckley rides 6, 7, 8% winners at 40% loss on turnover or something, and he's making 500,000 riding quite steadily. Well, Jimmy Cassidy's one of the best riders I've ever seen, but it's whether he's motivated to actually help people is the issue. And there's nothing wrong with Jimmy. He's incredible. But is he the one to drive it forward and push it? Maybe not. You know, you really need someone with a passion to do it. Yeah, 370 grand a year for Michaela Weir. There you go. And like, I have a heart attack when Michaela Weir's on one that I want to back. And she goes through the motions a lot too because she makes so much money. It just doesn't matter, you know. They ride their 2 winners a week or whatever it is, and that just keeps racking up. I don't mean that literally speaking. All right, so yeah, the Everest was the Everest. Worry about those horses when they sort of pop up wherever they pop up. Silver Eagle, basically, and I don't mean this in, they basically turned this into a one-goer for Ostraka. He was just allowed to lead control. Some merit in the back half of the race, but overall the race is not super strong. They didn't exactly rip home. Times in the, you know, coming home weren't super fast. So I'm being fairly lenient of this form going forward, but it was just a great ride from Blake after he'd put a couple of shockers in early in the day. Full control of this race. I thought Zadaki was really good. Thought he was a bit underrated coming into this. He was actually probably my best way from a collect perspective. He was 40s in, I think, and thought he was going to get there at about 150, but he sort of peaked, but his effort was good. War Machine had every chance. I thought Komochi had its chance, but didn't really get warmed up until last 200 metres of the race, which is weird. I thought she'd probably have a bit fresher legs, but she looked to be looking for further, which surprised me. Ravi was okay, but thought it had every chance. Port Lockroy was his usual self, just sort of flapping around in there, only beat 2.5 off a slow tempo. Konasana went like a rocket. Stretton Angel I thought was really good over Ace Keen and still got home strong against the slow tempo, and V8 was good late after it gets poleaxed out of the start. So this form will definitely, even though the race looks a little bit weak on paper, I think it's a bit stronger than what it suggests, the sort of time and the sections. And whilst maybe the Golden Eagle winner's potentially not here, I think the form will be pretty good. So V8 did cop a check out of the gates and get spat out the back there. So yeah, Shin just takes full control here, basically backs off the tempo because you've got a horse outside the leader that's not at all interested to push, and then sort of bases loaded, caught wide. Hippo's basically surrendered there. Komochi, there's no one who wants to pop out and put pressure into it. Nash is the first one to go, but he's sort of way too far off the speed and not on the right horse to do it. So Ostraka was all but handled the race. Who we got here? We got V8 back here. Stretton Angel coming wide. Konasana poking up the inside. War Machine. Komochi. Port Lockroy. Moravia on the inside.
V8 still last. Ostraka at the 300. Leads by a length on Rhythm of Love. War Machine. Then Komochi gets going. Sadaki running up behind them. Ostraka 200 to go. It's Ostraka a length and a half clear. Sadaki working into the clear. Komochi the outside needs to lift. It's still Ostraka in front though. Inside the 50. And Ostraka's going to beat Sadaki.
She's a bit of a weird horse, Kosciuszko. Looked like a bit of a wet tracker coming into this. I don't think this track was significantly wet. What was it, a 4.5 or something, around a 5? So her effort was good. She's an interesting horse going forward. Port Lockroy is going to drive you mad. V8 first up, poor. I thought he was actually better here late compared to that. I think Stratton Angel's going much better than everyone will give her probably credit for. I think she's probably ready to win a race now. Komochi's going to that mares race in Melbourne, I believe, not going to the Golden Eagle. That's interesting. She probably looks ready for a mile now. Sadaki, I don't know if it'll get into a Golden Eagle, but it'll be interesting. It could lob into a 1,1500 metre race next time. Bouncing to a mile might be tough. Might need one more to get to a mile. I thought War Machine was okay, but yeah, like only second up here, it can improve as well. It's only beaten a length, so it's hard to be too critical, but I don't think it can win a Golden Eagle. I don't think the winner can either. Maybe it can surprise me. I don't think the Golden Eagle winner's in this race. What are we changing Port Lockroy's name to? Put our community walk and myself be involved. I've had enough of Port Lockroy. Molly Fitzgerald in 23 letters. Yeah, she's flying, Molly Fitzgerald, and comes from a great racing family. So it does happen. It does, but you can see when someone like her with a bit of drive, and you can see she loves pushing horses out. We're going back in time here, again, talking about jockeys, but she loves settling closer. You know, she's ripped through her claim because she's just got a bit of up and go, you know, and that's all it really takes. You know, you've got to have some ability, no doubt, and having a family of, or her father was a pretty solid rider to help and get her pushed in the right direction. They can rip through their claims. It's just sort of going on with it because they do get used up really quickly. But she's looking good, Molly Fitzgerald. Top 3 get qualified for the Eagle. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, so War Machine. Okay, so Zadaki will be there. I think second up 1,500's probably okay, and he's probably arguably got the most upside in the race, right? Yeah, he's an interesting horse. I actually thought he was pretty steady early on, but he's improved a lot. Zadaki. He's improved a lot. George Main Stakes. Here we go. So Tom Kitten actually ran some crazy sections here. My Oberon ran some crazy sections. Pride of Jenny obviously ran some crazy sections to the 400 metre mark, and Steel Wolf gets home late. I was kind of the opinion here that Fangirl was the horse to take on quite aggressively, just because of the way the race was going to be run. It was the best way to play the race. I did think Pride of Jenny was the horse to beat, clearly, and sort of CO Wolf and Celestial Legend were the two that were best set up to cope with a fast tempo. I still had a question mark over the Epsom form, but I think that's been put to bed with Tom Kitten running extremely well. My Oberon, which is caught wide in the Epsom, running extremely well. And obviously, so Wolf, who won the Epsom pretty convincingly, running very well. So, yeah, the better runs in the Epsom, their form certainly has come out and held up well. So, yeah, I was wrong there for sure. Where's he? He's going for a spell now, isn't he, Sarah Wolf, or is he going to that? Oh no, I think he's going for a spell, isn't he? Pride of Jenny. So it's just got to be the wrong setup, hasn't it? To me, I know she's a freak, but 14 mile, and then back up 2,000. Jeez, I know the hyperbaric chamber is a magical thing. Jeez, and this Japanese horse is a complete lunatic. You know, if he settles because of how strong a tempo she puts on, he could just blow their heads off. But he also could stay in the gates and start buck jumping. So it's a fascinating Cox plate. I just continually seem to find now that when Pride of Jenny's in a race, it makes it a very difficult race to bet into. And I'm definitely not saying that she's bad for racing. I'm saying she makes races unpredictable.
ready now for the running of the King Charles III Stakes. Stand by for a break.
Talk about Hippo's ride.
Ready. And they're racing.
So he's obviously come out super aggressive. She half misses it, but not really. I thought he was quite passive. I think that Declan Bates obviously thought that he was going to get the front and get it basically handed to him, and that didn't happen. I actually thought that Major Bill would be positive and then really just be keen to let Pride of Jenny go. I thought it was quite insane to want to push the tempo so heavily, especially when he has sprinted quite decently. You know, I think his chance to overachieve was to let her go and just sort of slipstream her as much as he could. I thought he was in a lot of trouble when the owners complained, and then he sort of made the comments post-race that, you know, it was a bit cheeky what we planned, as in it was a premeditated plan. I don't think the staying wide was significant. You know, often the stable does that with their horses, whether it be Tim or Nash or Hippo. I thought he was in trouble because he went so much quicker here than he did in the Epsom and previous starts this prep. And because of the public nature of the race, I thought they could ping him. And I'm not saying I would have pinged him. I'm just saying I thought the way the circumstances all unfolded and how big a mouth that the owners got, and how like a mouthpiece, and how public the race was, that Hippo could easily be a bit of a scapegoat here and get a decent holiday. So you know, I'm glad that he didn't. I don't think the tactics helped Major Beale. Did they cost her the race? It's arguable. It's arguable. But she hasn't gone quicker than what she normally does. She probably just had to work a little bit harder and be put out of a rhythm a little bit earlier to get there. My overruns run huge. Tom Kitten from the back runs huge. C.L. Wolf definitely had the best run in the race. Just sort of off that tempo. So did Celestial Legend. He was, you know, a little bit plain. Fangirl's just shown again that she's just dynamic off slower tempos, and once she's exposed and has to spend petrol from the 800-metre mark, she's not the same horse. Amelia's Jewel was solid. So this is C.O. Wolf. Tom Kitten down the outside was good. Amelia's Jewel solid. Pericles ran as well as he can. My overron's flying. And Celestial Legend. I don't know what to make of Celestial Legend, whether he's not at his best, whether he's actually found his mark, whether, you know, I don't know. I don't know whether he's trained him a little bit different this time in and he's not, you know, not as good. It does concern me that my energy or new energy is sort of running up on their heels a little bit late. But he's sort of shown that he's got ability too at times. If you had to own one in the race going forward, who would it be? I don't know. She just can't keep doing this for much longer, I don't think. Pride of Jenny. So if I had to own one, it would probably be Chael Wolf. I don't think he was kind. She was gone. She was gone at the 400. She's gone here. Look at her. She's completely lost her act. She's like bobbing up and down in the one spot. I know that's her style to sort of run him into the ground, but he definitely hasn't been kind to her, I wouldn't say. Like, look at her fight that horse off. She's a dead set weapon of a horse. Look there, she's like, you feel like she's a chance of coming back and fighting off Chael Wolf. They go another 200 metres, but jeez, she's got to drive back to Melbourne and back up her Fox Plate in 7 days. Jesus Christ. Major Beale went about 9 lengths slower the first 400 or to the 800, I think, or the first, it might have been the first 800 metres of the race. So like a second and a half slower in the Epsom, I think. D-Lane's bullish about prognosis. I'm going back. Yeah, Chair will spell now. What do we do? I don't know where Celestial Legend will go. There's probably a race for it. Blast from the past, John Fitzgerald, tennis player. What are we talking about? Oh, Molly Fitzgerald. No, I don't think she is. John Fitzgerald's like 6'6", 6'5". That's pretty. I don't think he's. I don't think she is. D-Lane bullish about prognosis. Well, I'm glad they put D-Lane on prognosis. The best running model, never win one. Can't knock that. A bit unlucky. A bit of Northerly about it. Yeah, she's tough. She's tough. Yeah, she's in the hyperbaric chamber for 2 days, then in a day yard for 2 days, and then down to Melbourne, I think is what I heard. Just incredible. All right, Willard Dow. This race was actually ran a little bit faster than what I thought. Willard Dow was just a nightmare. It sort of held on. Stadio Mastala, I don't know how it just kept coming. Battleton, a bit unlucky. Charge of the Light Brigade, which is what I'd always thought it would be. I thought there was a couple of okay runs back in the pack that can do something in coming weeks. This race was just ugly. Not going to knock Kippo too much for his ride on. Super helpful here, but he basically didn't give it much of a chance. Thought its run was okay. Sort of drags it right back. Money from the Sky Bet's right back. Ruby Flyer again gets right back. Willard Dow is just racing well. The Stadium Estella was a bit unlucky. Just got caught wide. Sort of went to slot in, and Mitch Stavewood kicked up and kept Josh out. Over races. Does everything possible wrong, wide, no cover the whole way on. What was a solid tempo and just kept coming on the line. Its run was incredible. Ruby Fly sort of cutting up the inside here. Super helpful back. Money from the Sky back in distance. I think it was having a bit of a barrier trial. Money from the Sky. It's not been a disappointing horse overriding, but it kind of has. I thought it was there to win with the setup back from a mile to 1400 and couldn't put the race away. I thought it was probably a little bit disappointing. King of the Castle goes to the big dance. Iron Man solid again. Sees the Stadium style. Looks like it's out on the feet at the 400 and somehow just keeps finding. I actually thought Super Helpful was a sneaky little run back in the field. Don't tell anyone about it, but you can sort of, everything went wrong. Back drag, back. See, sort of struggling to build momentum. Hippo, off and on. And then its last 100 or so, I thought it was pretty good. It's a horse that could draw gate 4 in a race like this next time out, settle 4th or 5th, and finish the race off. So yeah, I thought it was a sneaky little run back in the field, Super Helpful. Ruby Fly's ready to win. Estadio Mistal's ready to win, but it's a bit of a nightmare, hard guys to catch. The race was okay. $1.95 on the $1.95 on the World Tote for Willard Dow, and I thought the best one was, and someone I didn't realise, someone on Twitter telling me saying $1.45 Buckaroo paid the place in a 20 horse field or whatever in the Caulfield Cup. $1.45 the place. Holy cow. Wins the provincial championships. What's the story with the provincial championships? Can it win? Do they have to have won? Is it like the country championships? They can't have won too many races because she's won a few now. She won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe the provincial championships is just set weights penalties. Maybe you can. I'm not sure because country championships was like 4 wins or 5 wins and you're out. Super helpful. They'll just find a benchmark race, or it could pop up at bloody Wagga or in a country cup somewhere, or it could pop up anywhere. From Sky likes a drink. She sounded sloshed during the coverage. I don't know. I don't know. I've been told she's a little bit unreliable, but I don't know. We'll have a look at the Caulfield Cup. There was some, there's just a lot of performances at the moment that are a little bit hard to work out. Sort of Lady in Pink's performance in Melbourne was brought up to me that it was a huge career peak. This Duke de Sessa run is just like crazy. They've gone 100 miles an hour and it just takes off and just keeps going. I know its form was pretty solid, but it was like, what was it, 25s into 8s, and I know they were expecting the rain to help, and it was probably a little bit softer than what the track rating gave credit for. I think it was more of an 8 around the circle than a 6 or whatever. They ended up calling it late. I don't know why the upgrade was, but yeah, this performance is crazy. The time's so good, but and he does get a good run for the majority of the race after working early to lead. Jet Deny Knowledge gives it a nice run, but far out. I saw someone today saying that Buckaroo wasn't unlucky. Well, I'm not sure about that either. If you look early in the race, Buckaroo's on the back of Duke de Sessa after a couple of 100 metres. So this is Buckaroo here. I think this is Duke de Sessa directly. So that's Duke de Sessa cuts in front of it. Basically takes its running. And, you know, so he was on the back of him. So he gets chopped out there. And then gets continually chopped out during the race, which is not really Joe's fault. He probably could have been a bit more aggressive, but he just gets shuffled, and then he gets back into this awkward spot towards the inside where he can't dictate on when he goes himself. He's back here now, 5th last the inside. The winner's worked hard up on a fast tempo. This stupid land legend, the lunatic, coming around. Elias was off the bit really early. Sardozi looked to travel up. And now this is Buckaroo back here, just held up. Held up. Still can't go. Held up. Has to check off heels there. Nearly kills old mate. So it still had to come from a standing start, flat spot to try and round these horses up. They're not really slowing down that much considering the fast tempo. So I think it's pretty hard to argue that Buckaroo shouldn't have won the race. I could build a monstrous case that even if it had have won the race, that Duke de Sessa was the best run in the race, and I wouldn't argue with that. But I think it's pretty. I could comfortably say that Buckaroo probably should have won. Any luck in running at all, whether it's early in the race, getting out earlier, being able to build into the race earlier, I think it would have won the race. But Duke de Sessa's effort's ridiculous, and I just, you know, the tin hat person in me just wonders how this is possible. And it's not stopping on the line. And if anything, the second horse has peaked on its run, and whether they show you. So they don't show you, even in a Caulfield Cup now, they don't show you the run through, which is absolutely infuriating. They're showing people celebrating rather than the run through. But I don't think you would have been able to pull it up. Yeah. I think this is a better horse than Solcombe, though. Track was pretty crap. There, Callum. Used to be a great cup guy, I think 2nd to 6th. Yeah, you get the feeling that it's not the right form this year, surely. You get the feeling it's not the right. Yeah, I think it should have won. That's what it feels like, Barnes. It feels like there's, and I'm not, the tin hat part of me, like I'm not. There's just so many huge performances of recent times that are just huge spikes, and a lot of them are well back too. It's just a bit. You can, as a punter, you can go with them. You know what I mean? You just got to identify these things, and if it doesn't make sense, you know, go with it a little bit, but at least sort of have it on your side or chop out or whatever. But where there's smoke, there's fire is certainly very prevalent at the moment, and there's just been some really huge peak performances that are a little bit inexplicable. Yeah, he's just a weird horse, land legend. I thought maybe Purton could be able to put him to sleep and maybe get the best out of him, but gate 1 probably wasn't ideal. But he's such a weird horse. I don't know what an ideal gate is for this horse. And yeah, he was the sort of horse he thought if he did everything right, he could blow their heads off. But if not, unusual legacy. Yeah, it's running the Metrop was incredible, and it sort of got checked and looked like it was not going to finish the course. All right, so next week, there's actually quite a few interesting races. I thought sort of maybe going even a little bit more forward. Like it doesn't entice you to want to bet here, doesn't it? Like 2-1 Prognosis, 7-2 Pride of Jenny via Sistina, 5-1 Broadside, 5-1 Mr. Broad, 8-1 Mr. Broadside. obviously there's only going to be 6 runners or something here, so I don't see any reason to not wait and see, you know, what weather does, barrier draws, everything here. I just don't. There's nothing that looks like it's. I think Evaporate's running now, isn't it? It's it just looks like. Just wait and see here. Cox Plate. I just asked about Henline, and they said most likely still going to Sydney. Dual nom, chance we still dual accept. So yeah, at the moment he's still a chance. So I think El Castillo is still the value here. Jay Ford's still riding Swift Falcon. Maybe he draws a gate and he's going to be hard to beat here, but I still think El Castillo is the sort of rock solid horse here, and you'll probably still get $4.50-ish. You know, I think it's not a price you're going to dive into because it's going to start $2.50 unless Henline doesn't go here and something happens to Swift Falcon. But that's drawing a long boat. Something could easily happen to El Castillo just as easily. So I think there's no strong line to take here that's of any value, but I still think El Castillo is the undersold horse. I think they should be pretty much take your pick, Swift Falcon and El Castillo. Are you surprised? Sorry, Elias is pressing onto the Cup. No, only because of the stable. I don't know if it can win. I think it'll be ridden cold. I think Elias will be ridden cold in a Melbourne Cup. It won't be ridden anywhere near a fast tempo or something like that. I think it'll be ridden wherever it's comfortable. Spring Champion invitation. Haven't looked at this field yet. I think Alentia found the right race the other day. A bit lucky. $2.80 seems short. Magic Time was okay down the straight. Few feet things looked like it was behind the 8 ball there. It can improve, but I'd want to see it parade. I could not back it early, and it's my favourite horse, $3.50. Zugotcha's a bit between runs now. I think Macarena can run well, but probably $11. Well, there's not much speed here, is there? You got Belclair's got some speed. Terramata can roll forward, but Royal Merchant can roll forward, but there's no real speed. So maybe $11 Macarena's interesting. Zugotcha can settle on speed, so can Magic Time, but nothing wants to press. Coco Jambu Roots, geez. It's, I think it's probably the value of the runners there just because it should get its own way up on speed and has proven that it's sort of hard to get past when it gets that right run. But, yeah, it's just very short 280 Alentia. Holy cow. Val was in the Geelong Cup. He doesn't. Val and Declare is a 2,400 metres tall. I know it won a Melbourne Cup, but he won by act of God. He won by act of God. And no, just party. So that's a rematch from them last start. Depth of Character is just a horse. Althoff's just a horse. Deconstruction was okay the other day, but it's just a horse. Prost was okay, but just a run to Toka. Wow, that's a bad race. Yeah, no interest there. It looks pretty right. Craven Plate. Wow. How far is this race? I thought the Craven Plate was, is it 1,800 or something, is it? $1,800 Group 3. I think this horse has got a race in it. City of Lights is prep, but I don't know if it's the Craven Plate. What's it done? Has it had a run since first up? Had 2 runs, so it ran at Caulfield. Oh, it ran it on the Wednesday meeting at Caulfield, and Saturday meeting when it was on speed. So it drew gate 1 here.
After almost 4 or 5 across City of Lights, Lady's Private Leg Sun. Again, by 2 lengths to the outside. Lights losing a little to go, led by over 2. Private Leg
gone pretty steady here.
Going strongly though, 100 metres to go. 2 lengths in front of Private Legacy, who's flying. But
went really well first up.
By a half.
Not as good there. 14-16. Keep an eye on it, but anyway, it's not. Doesn't look like a horse you really want to chime into off the back of that run anyway. Jeez, I don't like the look of that race. Roll on highest trials. Will they actually have trials, or do I have to go to racing.com to watch them? We have to go to racing.com. I haven't seen them, but I was surprised they gave it a straight up invitation at not having a run, so it must have trialled well.
Kate Spring and they're away. They broke away in a fairly even line. Artistic Genius and Red Hot Nick show a bit of speed early. Zombie Missile is going to slide back to be third now, and on the outside of runners was Margie's Boy. Thargominder's in between them, and towards the end of the field, Roll on High. So the field of 6 comes on in a fairly way. They Hot Nick side of runners was Margie's Boy. Off the back, about a length inside to in third position. The field ready to go. Artists out by positioned Zombie Missile. Red Hot Nick now. They're starting to come from the back of the field was Margie's Boy. Inside the final 50 though, and taking over and winning will be Red Hot Nick.
She looked good there, didn't she? Like she definitely like let it rip for Antino style for a couple of hundred, then grabbed hold of it.
Out in front. Leads out by about a neck now, and in second position, Zombie.
Shut her down.
Red Hot Nick now. They're starting to.
He's a dangerous horse.
Was Margie's Boy.
Roll on High. Five Diamonds Prelude. What is this crap? None of these races look like. No. Crystal Mile, another Will. There's a lightning. Nope. Nope. Oh, so this is where Henline's going to dual accept potentially in this race as well. The Moody Valley Vars and the Spring Champion potentially. Stakes, when's that? Geez, this horse is interesting horse, Barrack Hill, especially with War Machine coming out and running well. Its win the other day was incredible, Barrack Hill. Smashing that horse. I don't know if the clock backed it up. It was like wherever it goes next start, good luck beating it. That was that kind of win. And it was only second up there.
Out wide.
Off a solid tempo around the valley. Like, geez. From this angle, on a dry track after the one on run on a heavy track first up. So you would think this horse should only improve off this.
Began quickly with also missile drops behind them. Fence now. They were followed by Zolfikar.
Like sort of never worked the whole way. War Machine's had his backside the whole way. I know it was first up.
War Machine followed by Home Rule, Zolfikar, and behind them Gumdrop.
I loved what she did off the bend here, and how strong she looked. She was a gelding, 6-year-old gelding.
Led by a length and a quarter, War Machine, and has it beaten. Barrack wins it. War Machine second, a long gap.
I love that win. I think that horse will be very hard to beat on Saturday. Not that it's hard to find. It's favourite. Kasara. What the hell? I backed it in a goddamn benchmark race or something the other day, didn't it? Come from last in a small field somewhere. I'd rather look at these other races. So the races I think are interesting. I want to look at it. So the Derby I can't work out why El Castillo's $11. I don't think broadsiding will go there. I couldn't imagine that from what I've seen of Henline so far that it's looking for 2,400. Keeneland looks like a hurdler. Red Aces looks like a hurdler. Swift Falcon won't go there, I wouldn't imagine. China Sea looks like a hurdler. I can't understand why this horse is $4.50 in a spring champion and $11 in the Derby, when to me, I think it's got a better chance of winning a Derby than it does the spring champion. So it to me looks the wrong price, El Costello. And I'll probably muck around trying to get some horses going into it. I want to look at the mare's race. This Empire Rose, so I Kestrel 380, that makes sense. She was unbelievable the other day. Amelia's Jewel short enough for Tissue. So Lekvart, yeah, it was 25 to 1. I thought she was a good price, 25 to 1. Komochi. It's a great race, isn't it? But they're going to go fast here. Yeah, it's going to be a good test. Orchestral certainly looks the one to beat. I thought you'd get a better price than 380, to be honest. Yeah, I do think Lekvart is a cheeky chance here for sure. Territory Express in that 5 diamond prelude. Territory Express is just a nightmare of a creature. You just got to wait and see where he draws and all that. Yeah, a maiden could win the Derby the way that it looks at the moment. If there's a few horses don't get there, a dead set anything could win the Derby, and that's why I can't understand why El Costello's $11. What was the other one I look at? Champion Sprint, is that there? When's that? That's here. So Overpass is trimmed up. Yeah, it doesn't look any real holes there. Sort of, you know, Sunshine in Paris, Overpass, Giga Kick, look, the main three. Is she definitely going there? Surely she's, I guess, what else are you going to go? She's had 57 starts or something. They may as well just keep pushing. But, and then the Golden Eagle. I haven't looked at these horses. I don't know anything about Ascoli Pechino or that. I know they're bringing out a rider I've never heard of. He's never ridden here before, which seems crazy to me. But it will be a great race. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, okay, so yeah, El Castillo, $11 in the Derby looks wrong to me. No big gaps left in the rest. Anything else to look at? Will they definitely go? Well, it's definitely the plan right now is all I can say with El Castillo. The plan is to go to the Derby. Bella Racing in Sydney on Derby Day. Oh yeah, for the big bonus. Estrella was absolutely ridden perfectly the other day. That was her chance in life. Agree with that. Anything else you want me to look at before I run away? Long Cup. Is it out, the field? Oh, it's Wednesday. I don't even know what day it is. Monday's bowling day. Where we try to forget that. Alright, so Miramasa, interesting. Miramasa's definitely interesting. Mapper Bodegon, Unusual Legacy, Gate 10. Marrera. Manzois, hit the road, Jack. Don't know it. Mission of Love. Birdman. Who's Birdman? Coco Beware. So no speed. Isn't it amazing? There's no leaders in a lot of these races, or you get your Deny Knowledges and Duke DeCessas that want to go a billion miles an hour. There's nothing in between. The Francesco Guardi looked like it was kind of back on track. Draws 15 gate. Horrible. Miramasa 8. Herman Hess 1, 2, the map. They're all got their races. Yeah, Unusual Legacy Marrero. You think you'd roll forward and go pretty close, wouldn't you? What price is it? $6. $6 Unusual Legacy. 420 Birdman. Who's this Birdman? Has it been jumping out down there or something? Oh, 64 days. So it's literally fresh off the boat. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about it, but I know that setup's pretty horrible. Not easy to do that. One Smooth Operator. Who's that? One Smooth Operator 20 to 1. I think Miramaster's ready to run very well. I thought it was the best roughie in the Caulfield Cup. So, yeah, Miramaster and Unusual Legacy's got that same form as sort of Land Legend and those crew. So to me, you know, they're the two favourites, but they're definitely the right two horses with upside, and they obviously want to win too. Like they're motivated to win the race as well. I took Kovalika to win the Melbourne Cup today at hundreds. What's it got to what's Kovalika got to win to get in? Or will it get in? I don't think it'll get in. D Moore showing some loyalty. I think he's been struggling, Daniel Moore, isn't he? 3.5% winners last 3 months, Daniel Moore. 83 rides, 3 wins in the last 90 days. 8% winning in the last year. 494 rides, 41 wins, 8%. Holy cow. What about for Busted and Young? 6 from 50. Holy dooly. I know who wins the Geelong Cup. Who wins? He did, but he's still riding at 3.5%. That's not good. I'm ready. If you say man's voice, I'm going to throw up. Oh, hang on. What is that? Is that like a cryptic call? Or is Marrera's on it. Yeah, I think it looks very hard to beat. His run was incredible the other day. A maid. Jesus Christ, a maid. 11-year-old gelding. It's one of those ones you don't want to see go down the wrong way, poor maid. The field's not out. We'll see when they come out. All right, I'm going to run. I've got a week. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. See you later in the week. Cheers. What are you prepared to lose today? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.